Hi everyone, welcome to Generation Change and Inspiration podcast. My name is Pien. I'm a co-founder at Let's Reinvent. We aim to empower global citizens to succeed by promoting personal and professional development, cultural diversity, and inclusion.
And my name is Claudie. I'm a co-founder at Let's Reinvent. In this podcast, we talk about books that inspire our generation and share valuable lessons which support our mission at Let's Reinvent. Let's go and jump right in. Today we're going to speak about the book Lift as You Climb by Viv Groskop. It was very entertaining. I very much enjoyed it. How was your experience with that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's really reassuring that, there are women in leadership that writes about these kinds of book, and it's definitely an eye-opener for those who are doing the climbing at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So just to summarize the book, so it speaks not only of compassion, but also of empowering women to gracefully create ways of success for themselves and for others by following specific criteria such as being bold, knowing your value, and not being afraid to ask for help.
I agree. And I think more about the book is that is the ability to get to know the value of the advocates, of mentors, of those people who are doing the lifting. And I think lastly, as a summary of the book, we need to recognize the importance of the roles of both men and women in making equality and success for women inclusive to all. It's because lifting would mean that it's not just gender specific, really. It's about being a society that is helping each other like lift up, and for women it's especially important to recognize your role to be able to help others who are in need, even if they're not asking for it, but rather being more conscious about our behavior to help others succeed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so interesting. So the book has several chapters. It has 11 chapters in total, and such as how to own your ambition, how to promote yourself, how to network, and how to support other women, or how to recruit allies. So which ones do you think would be the highlights for you?
I guess, I have three important highlights that I really liked when I was reading the book. I think the first one is integrating lifting into our goals, because it's easy to get lost, with all the noises, with all the competing ambitions and goals that we have in life. So, it's important to those people, young people who are starting out, or to those in the middle management, or to those who are now in power. It's important to reflect on what's our life's purpose, and at the same time how we can lift other people to access opportunities, and to help them climb the ladder. The second one, I think it's the story of the author Viv Groskop, when she talked about her experience being a writer in one of the PR companies that she worked for, where she had to be an expert in car psychology. So basically,
that's funny.
It's quite crazy. Like companies have goals, and for the PR company, it was more about the quantity rather than the quality. And so Viv was on the TV doing all the talk shows, and at one point she was an expert in the car psychology, giving the meaning of why people would prefer white over black cars, or or some designs over the other. But essentially, she recognized that her role wasn't really important. It's just a means towards an end for the PR company, and that she was a very negligible collateral damage if she did something wrong in her role. So it's, I guess, the lesson or the highlight there is knowing when are you wasting your time, or when do you say no to an opportunity and yes, and knowing the worth of that opportunity, and seeing how it contributes to your overall goal, in your career. And then I think the third highlight for me when reading the book is onboarding the advocates, be it in the office place, or when you're an entrepreneur. It's because sometimes we advocate for self promotion, but actually sometimes it might backfire. And Viv Groskop suggested that advocating for other people is actually more, not important, but more effective in addressing challenges in the workplace. For example, when you go in a board meeting and then you already know that maybe one of your colleagues is always interrupting you, or not, or you feel that you're not being heard. And so what she advised is that before the meeting, approach a colleague of yours who will be in the same meeting, and be sure that that person is trustworthy, that is an advocate of you on and off the boardroom, and who would be able to recognize when the interruption happens, so that that person can speak out and can advocate for you. And so it's a very effective tool in not being that biased, but having the person say to you afterwards, like, yeah, you're right, like that person is interrupting you. Or that person can say, actually, he's always just interrupting everyone. It's not so more, sound, I would say, observer. So what about you, Claudie? What's the highlights for you when reading the book?
So I really like the fact that she had so many different topics to talk about, and also little reminders, and also things that we should reflect on. And so for me, what was important is, like, the first one was to know your value, and by knowing your value, not to be afraid to own your ambition, to own your assertiveness. And she was also pointing out the fact that when women are assertive, it comes across as aggressive, whereas when men do the same, then it's completely normal, and it's even encouraged, or it's well seen. And so I really like that, and especially because women are expected to be a certain way, and if they choose to have a different strategy, then some people are just surprised, sometimes even offended. And so she also gives strategies how to do it really in a very diplomatic, kind way. So you don't have to, so when you're assertive, you don't have to put other people down, for example. So it's very, very important. Also, the second part that I really enjoy is, and that resonates with me as well.
Yeah.
So it's networking.
Yeah.
Networking without stressing people out.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know. I am someone who really enjoys going to conferences, who is always looking for ways to know people from different walks of life, and also to learn constantly and consistently. And so by doing so, eventually I'm going to be interested in a tech conference, or a conference about mental health, or another one about nutrition, and or mindfulness. And so there is this approach, or this pressure that we sometimes have. We network, but in such a in such a needy way, I would say.
Yeah.
And so basically what Viv Groskop is saying is that, just network by, getting to know the person first. Don't come in there and, already ask the person to do something for you, right? So there is a certain process how these things might work, and especially you can also sense if a person is responding to your actions, or to your requests or not. So try and get a feeling of what you are expecting, and also what people might be expecting for you, and how you would feel if someone was coming across, making demands, although you haven't even met before. And so I think that's that was one of the highlights. A third point is how to reach out for help.
Yeah.
And who to reach out to. Viv Groskop spoke about not being afraid to ask for help, and it is still very difficult for people, and sometimes more difficult even for women who always have who always think that they are not worthy of being helped, or they don't deserve it, or they haven't done much, or so there's a lot of of blocks that women still have. Not all of them, but some of them. And so not be afraid to ask for help. And there's also a type of help that you can find in mentors. So now what Viv Groskop is saying is that you have to know exactly why you need a mentor. And the mentor is not supposed to do the work for you. The mentor is here to guide you, to give you advice, following their own experience, and might help you reflect on, or even make you aware of things that they have observed in your behavior. And but under no circumstances is a mentor to give you all the answers that you are looking for. So these are for me the highlights of the book.
Yeah. And I think, like these highlights really resonated in the real life, right? Like they're so eye-opening in terms of how do you approach a certain situation.
Yeah. And especially one thing that came to my mind was the networking part. So when I was living in London, I went to a conference about mindfulness, and there was this well-known poet, and she read us a few of her poems. They were beautiful, and they were in all the darkness even. So they were just marvelous. And at the time I was still working at the collective, so I went to her, I introduced myself, and we started chit-chatting a bit. And then I asked her to I said to her, oh yeah, you should come to the collective to read your poems to us. We can create an event. And and then I realized that it was maybe too heavy for her. It was going too fast.
Right. Yeah.
Eventually I had to stop, because I realized that no, you just can't do that. Try and learn to know the person first, but don't come to them and come as, yeah, okay, I need something from you right now. We need to organize it. Here's my calendar, and so yeah. So I wasn't. This is something that I really learned over the next months, and I knew, I was going to that event to connect with other people, but also to learn more about myself and see if I can maybe unlock, my potential a bit more. And it was a very insightful conference. And so seeing her reaction, which wasn't, I knew that she was a bit taken aback and kind of, she wasn't really ready for what I had planned for her. Yeah. So I decided to really just step away from that idea of, having her to come and create and do an event for our community at the collective, rather than just speak about, her motivations. And so it was really nice. So, but I think if she remembers me, she would be probably thinking of the girl who just, stressed her out. Yeah. Although she had many more people to talk to. So yeah, I wasn't really helping, but I'm sure she will have forgiven me. And yeah, I have definitely learned from that experience. Another one was the balance, in finding balance, where you don't lose yourself, where you are good to others, but you also recognize your needs and goals. So in terms of supporting other people, and I'll take the example at the collective where I was working. I was a super connector, super networking. I was a networking expert. But what I did, it wasn't necessarily a mistake, but it was maybe, a lost opportunity. It was not to take advantage of all the connections I was making, and I was connecting people with each other, but and then I just let them go, without even keeping those connections within my own spectrum, right? And I think that would have been, very valuable in the long run had I done it. And so this is also something that resonates with me, is that you can support people. It's really good to do that, but do not forget yourself as well. So I think that's really important. And we always I think there is this need to be considered as good people. We always want to do good. We're always trying to do something that might help others. And especially like in what entrepreneurs do, they're looking for solutions, to social challenges, right? But when you're doing it, of course, if you just lift, then what do you get in the end? Because you also want to climb, right? True. So it's just finding that balance within, with climbing and lifting, and so it is not always an easy task, but it's definitely something that you want to keep going and make sure that it runs smoothly. It's amazing, and to see how well she knows what she's talking about, because some of the experiences are just, they are taken from her real life, but you're able to relate to that. Like, do you also have experiences that resonate with what Viv Groskop is saying in the book?
Yeah, I think that's definitely, the case here. There are a lot of similar experiences that I find myself in the same place or same ship. I think the first one, about advocating in the meetings, like I've experienced it in different scenarios working with a tech ecosystem, right? It's like sometimes you have to be stubborn and you have to disrupt. You want to be heard, you want to push for ideas in projects, or you want to call out someone. But the greatest challenge is that maybe people think that you're self-motivated, like you're aggressive, you're too eager, you have probably like hidden agenda. But the thing is, the best way really for you to win in that situation is by having supporters, advocates, like those who can vouch for that ideas. And sometimes I have mixed feelings about it. It's because it's tried and tested. Like sometimes your boss is actually a male, and that when you say something and he needs to support you, he's basically echoing what you said. And so the shallow level, like it seems like you're being mansplained. But on the deeper level, he's really trying to advocate for you, and he has a bigger, like influence on the table, and that's how you get heard. That's how your projects gets approved. It's like having the sponsor, right? And so it's really important to, I guess, like have the balance, like identify like when you are being supported versus when you're being mansplained if your boss is away in the situation. And also, I guess what Viv said was right. Like before the meetings, you have to, have a, like, let's say, a private conversation with a colleague of yours who you really trust, who you can open up and basically share some, I would say, like insecurities. Like, you can ask like, hey, can you tell me, like, if I'm assuming it wrong, that that like a colleague of ours is not really treating me right in the meetings, or I think that my opinion is not being heard and I need some support when I propose it. So you basically need, your advocates to be on your side. And during the meeting, they would look for signs. They would be, like the adjudicator, like they would judge whether the situation is really biased, or is somewhat against you, or basically have a sounding or a sound person or a third person to actually try to make sense of everything, just for you to have the peace of mind and maybe validate some of your conscious thoughts. And then I think the second one that I really, really love is lifting others, like as part of your personal goal. I think it's super important. Like for me, I recently joined the World Economic Forum's Global Shaper community, and as a global shaper, I really believed in lifting others, and I've shared it with you, but I'd like to share it with more people, that we run certain initiatives, that are basically for the community, for the people who needs the help the most, who needs to access the opportunities, so that they can thrive, they can break the vicious cycle of poverty, or escape, like the helplessness feelings. And these are very present among those people who, let's say, grew up in like abusive environment, or absent parents or guardians, or basically they did not have a role model when they were growing up. And so we, as individuals who have found our ways to work through or climb the ladder, we should definitely help more people who hasn't realized, or who hasn't even started climbing the ladder, and they would need the most support. And I think this is very important, because like we see, like tragedies, sad stories, or people who committed mistakes, who did not know the right from wrong, and we can actually correct that mistakes, at least for the future, if we help more people, if we become the mentors or the advocates for the younger generation. And that's why I really, really liked how Viv Groskop has actually captured that sentiment, like having the lifting others as part of your, personal agenda or personal life goals. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's how this book resonates with my personal experiences. Yeah, so I guess like we can talk about what are our key takeaways. I think it's really important, for those individuals who hasn't read the book, like what can they learn from it? What do you
Yeah.
think?
So the thing that I'm taking away of this is I haven't definitely there are things that I needed even to write down for myself. Is that the first thing is every step of the way while we're climbing we should lift others up,
Yeah.
and so and it's coming back to finding that balance, helping others but helping yourself as well, because and there's also that saying, if I'm not happy then the others can't be happy either, right?
Yeah.
And so and it's I think it's really important, and Viv Groskop is right as well, because I have also experienced it, and she even said that by helping others you feel good, you really feel good about yourself, right? And most of the time if you help someone without even asking anything in return, you might find yourself in a situation where you need help, where you are the one who needs help, and then you will know, that somehow there's going to be someone out there, who's going to come to your rescue, or who will, give you a hand, just because you have, you made that, just because of your act of kindness, and how little it might be. So definitely, while we're climbing, we should lift others up. And the second one that I actually didn't mention before, but it's very, it's tied um, to the part of reaching out for help. So it's about rejection. So sometimes when we reach out for help, we will encounter people who will not be able to help us, for whatever reason that is, and they will say no to us. And Viv Groskop says, we should learn to be comfortable with no. And she even gave a really good example. She actually, it's a test. You can go to a store, you see the price of an item, and then when you go to the counter, you ask for a discount, and most of the time, you'll get a no. But so it will train you, to feel more comfortable with people saying no to you. And I think that's also what people, or some people, have yet to learn for themselves, because sometimes when someone says no to us, we assume that they're a bad person, or they just don't want to help, or they don't wish us well. And sometimes it is, sometimes it is not, right? So, and I mean, if you ask me for 10,000 euros, I won't be able to give them to you, because I don't have them, so I will say no. And you being in that situation of need, and you might take it personally, or it might upset you because because of the sense of urgency. So yeah, and she was saying that rejection is only a delay. So it's just a delay, and it also implies you to keep focusing on your goals, and yeah. So, and failure is not, you don't have to be defined. You don't let yourself be defined by your failures, but see them as lessons, as ways to improve yourself, and ways um, to be comfortable with being imperfect, right? Because nothing is perfect, and we don't know what perfection is, right? So we have an idea of it, but yeah, I don't think that with the way we do things, it can even be achieved, right? So, and perception, and it's also a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely rejection is just a delay. So, and never give up. So
Yeah.
these are my takeaways, yeah, from the book Lift as You Climb. So what about you? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've covered like a lot of important points, but I guess I'm gonna give something quite different, but still very relevant. That no matter whether we are climbing or lifting others, it's important that we pursue the path that brings joy to us. I think
Yeah.
one of the quote in the book from Viv Groskop, she said that you cannot continue on a career path that is no fun for you, and
Yeah.
that's really powerful. It's like for me personally, like I've gone through many paths in my life. Like I studied a different like subject. I worked for the government. I worked for an NGO. I worked for a consultancy firm. I worked for a startup. I worked for like a corporate. But I guess it's good that you try, that you find your passion, but what's important is whether you're having fun. It's because most of the times, like I actually get burnout or stressed or get depressed, and if you cannot make it your mission to to take that path and enjoy every like milestone, or enjoy the journey, then maybe that is not the path for you. And to be honest, like you could be in any like path, but we also have to consider that sometimes chances, like what Viv said on her book, like chances actually plays a big role in determining the important life outcomes. There are like books like The Outliers, or some books suggesting that sometimes the opportunity comes on the right place at the right time, or maybe the right era, or something like that. And so like it's just super hard to determine whether it's something good for you, but it's easier to enjoy the journey if you're having fun. And I think lastly, having fun is the greatest form of empowerment. I guess
Absolutely.
like we don't want to be the person where others comment as the toxic person. It's because you always complain about things, and then you are very critical. You want to like just disrupt the industry, just disrupt the system. So yeah, I guess if you want to be the disruptor, just make sure that you're having fun, because at the end of the yeah, at the end of the day, it's really tough to help others if you cannot help yourself. We don't want to get depressed. We want to learn from our mistakes and to be an inspiration and a role model to others. And we can only do that if we are able to help ourselves, that we are fully, like satisfied with our goals and achievements, and that we can impart that joy to other people.
Absolutely. Oh, I totally agree with you. And I hope that our listeners would also heed your advice and all the wisdom coming from Viv Groskop's book. And yeah, so it was a real treat. Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
good to remind ourselves of a few things. And yeah, I would highly recommend the book to anyone who wants to get deeper knowledge into um, what she has to offer. And yeah, but I am quite confident that with what we already have, um, it's a good portion of information that's thought provoking.
I agree. Yeah, it's really a good source of, I guess, inspiration, and something that younger people should read about to get to know, what lies ahead of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So uh, I have a question. Like, what do you, or what do you think about uh, all these books and helps about personal and professional development? Do you feel that there is too much of it, or they're all saying the same thing, or do you think it's really hard to find something that is really, yeah, powerful enough for you to um, yeah, to take seriously, to be even convinced? Do you think it's really hard to find good books that contain advice, for
Yeah,
young people or anyone who wants to grow, in
yeah.
general?
I really think that at some point we have a common denominator. Like, we have different experiences, and I would say, like, sometimes there are like one size fits all kind of mantra behind it. Um, yeah, but I think what makes the books very insightful, magical, is that they give, like they paint a picture, they give you an example that they experience themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they give us an overview of how they were able to conquer their challenges, and it will be useful for us should we encounter the same situation. I guess what makes it really good is that it's really tough to find, let's say, mentors or people who has extraordinary experiences. But these books help us connect with, these amazing individuals, and like have a quick glimpse of what their life was about. And so, yeah, I guess it really matters whether you are interested to get to know the life of the author, I guess. If it's, semi autobiography. But yeah, I guess sometimes you really have to have a either like balanced expectation or no expectation at all, because having like super high expectation is quite hard to reach, and sometimes you just don't want to disappoint yourself, and it takes the fun out of reading a book. How about you, Claudie?
Yeah,
What do you think?
absolutely. Well, yeah, I really, it's one of my overall goals to start reading again, but as intensively as I used to do. And I am really, really grateful for all the books, that I've read so far. And I must admit that at the moment, I'm reading less of non-fictional books, because I've come into this era of self-help.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, I need to grow. I need to grow, but also, I every now and then I remind myself that, I can grow also by having fun, and that's what I'm doing. I do have fun whenever I read a book about self-help, or all these little quotes on Instagram So yeah, just because, I don't think that it is something that we learned at school, and yeah, I definitely didn't learn it, as a child, in our family home.
Yeah.
No one expected me to, or asked me even to reflect um, so much, about the person that I am or that I want to be. And yeah, so I think, for young people especially, it might save them a bit of time, uh, really listening to our podcast or just reading the books um, that we that represent, or any books really. And what I also like is that um, there are also books that, they are fictional, um, but they also, tend to help you, with your own growth. I've started um, listening to a book called the Money Tree, and uh, the Money Tree from, I forgot his first name, so I'd rather not say his name.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. So, but very interesting. How to. It's about, how to become successful. And I just like the idea of you know just looking into yourself, getting to know yourself very well, and becoming self-aware in order to know exactly, how you want to design your life. So yeah, I really think that, the books that we talk about, or yeah, reading in general, is so valuable at the moment. And it is also a way for me to kind of get away from all the stress that is generated by social media. I just feel that,
Exactly.
it's just too much, and I need, I need to kind of step away from that for like an hour of a day, because whether we realize it or not, we are on our phones and laptops,
Yeah,
literally.
and the social media, posts are designed to capture your attention, and
Yeah,
it's like a drug, and
yeah,
it activates some hormones in your body that somewhat, acts or somewhat reflects what drug addicts actually feel, when
yeah,
they're taking the drugs. And so, yeah, I totally agree. Like, I manage, some social media accounts,
mm,
and I try my best not to be on the platform and try to integrate the process by without being in a platform. So yeah, I use some
yeah,
certain tools to do that for me so that I don't get like hooked and absorbed by the
yeah.
contents, the addictive contents of social media.
Oh, so addictive. And the thing is, it's not even like you don't even realize how addicted it is, because you have so much fun. You're just like, this
True.
is really good stuff. And especially the content that I am looking at, it's just something, it's life lessons, right? So it is information from experts. For example, this morning I was listening to a podcast from Jim Quick. It was about, you know, really understanding what you read, but also read faster. So he is the creator of the Quick Brain, and fantastic content, but yeah, so it's just one episode after the other. It's so addictive. It's so good, but it is helpful, right?
Yeah.
And now, yeah, the name came back to me. The author of The Money Tree is Chris Gillibo, and so fascinating. I love this type of content, but I cannot get enough of it, right? So you realize, and what I'm trying really to be careful is only consuming. When I'm consuming, I make sure that I'm at least learning something for life, rather than just, looking at funny videos and then going to the next one. And so I think it's all about finding balance, right? And make sure that you're not exaggerating, and not going to into the extremes, right?
And I think, like for me, it's really reclaiming your peace of mind, your attention span, because it's like your brain is so activated by dopamine, and you just feel the rush. You're always feeling the rush, and sometimes you watch inspirational people. Like I do follow, like influencers as well, on social media, and sometimes it's so hard to like, you can't help but compare yourself as to how exactly you're going to work to get to that level as they are, and you just end up like not doing anything. It's because you're just consumed by like this image, the perfect image of what they have cultivated. And basically watching like thousands of videos per day, like it's just too much. Like your brain is actually overworked, I would say. It's just too tiring, and sometimes I can personally experience it. Like my brain is just super active, and it's hard to concentrate, and it's like like there's random stream of thoughts going on in my mind, and it just really like distracts your way of thinking. Reading a book and actually talking about it reinforces like a more sustainable, I would say, like interaction, because you learn when you talk about it. Like teach what you preach. It's true. You learn when you talk about it. And when you're just watching videos, it's purely like you consuming, right? It's hard to kind of like release that, and it's hard to sometimes like just share it with other people. I don't know.
And I think it's even hard to filter it as well, right? Because like when I look at some of the content that I watch, like one of the other after the other, I realize that I haven't really been able to process all that, right?
It's like you just forget the names, titles of the books, of the authors.
Absolutely.
Like you just forget all the details because it's too much.
So basically what I've really started doing is forcing myself to to just stop for a moment. I do meditate on the side, which is really, really important, and I can only recommend it to anyone who hasn't started it yet. But it's also like to actively get away from our phones and laptops. So I think that is, because our brains, they, even when we're not doing anything, they're still working, right? Either even in the conscious or the subconscious mind, our minds are always working, and and sometimes our minds need rest and repair. So that's something I'm not really good at it yet, but it's a work in progress.
I guess it's true for everyone. We're all a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking forward to the next book, right?
That's true.
We haven't decided yet, but it's definitely coming. So guys, anyone who's listening to us, watch this space. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any feedback or just want to say hi, drop us a message on social media. via Let's Reinvent Now or email us at hello@letsreinvent.org.
And for more information about events and other activities at Let's Reinvent, visit letsreinvent.org. Thank you for listening and see you on the next episode.